Following on from its success with the Silent Hill 2 remake, Bloober Team is back this year with Cronos: The New Dawn, an upcoming sci-fi survival horror game with a twisted time travel story. Set in both an unforgiving post-apocalyptic future and an alternate version of 1980s Poland where an apocalypse called The Change has wiped out most of humanity, Cronos looks set to be a horrifying mashup of Silent Hill, Dead Space, and maybe even a little bit of Dark Souls. But what do we actually know about the game? Well, join me, Eurogamer's Higton, as I dive into Cronos' brand new gameplay trailer to fill you in on all the details that you might have missed.
Focus your attention. What do you see?
It's safe to say that the focal point of Cronos: The New Dawn's recent gameplay reveal trailer is the game's protagonist, who is currently known only as the Traveller. Despite wearing a fairly bulky suit, which gives them a rather masculine figure, this trailer actually seems to suggest that the Traveller is female. There are two lines in the trailer where we appear to hear the Traveller speak. Once when they answer the computer's question about what they see.
Giant. Sleeping.
Again.
Animals.
And once in this section where they say, "Such is our calling."
Such is our calling.
And that muffled voice definitely sounds like it belongs to a woman to me. But why the need for the big suit anyway? Well, aside from the fact that early 2000s boob armour would be massively inappropriate outerwear for fighting things that look like someone turned Poppy Playtime's Huggy Wuggy inside out, there are a couple of important world lore reasons. The first of these, according to Bloober Team's recent Dev Diary video,
travelers are the only ones that can survive the environment in our future setting, in our game. The only ones that can travel to the past and keep up or survive encounters with monsters.
The reason for this seems to be that the suit itself can create the Traveller's weaponry on the fly, as seen in this shot from the gameplay trailer that I've helpfully slowed right down for you. The second reason is that, while we do see the Traveller doing a lot of fighting in this gameplay, they are not your typical soldier. More accurately, they are described in the Dev Diary as being a diver in time, and because of this, their suit design has quite obviously been inspired by old-school deep-sea diving suits. There's no word yet on why the helmet looks like the underside of an angry penis though, but on the Traveller's arm here, you can see what looks a little bit like a Pip-Boy from Fallout, so I'm assuming that this will act in a similar way, allowing you to monitor your health and potentially do suit upgrades. Oh, and I've got one final point about the Traveller before I move on to the next section. Just now you may have noticed that I occasionally referred to travellers in the plural rather than in the singular with Traveller. That's because the protagonist of Cronos is not the only traveller out there, and we actually see one at the end of the new gameplay trailer. Although this one has decorated their suit with fancy furs and weird robo-rabbit ears, which makes them look a little bit like a cut NPC from Destiny. There's no sign of any other travellers in this gameplay trailer though, but going by the lines of dialogue uttered by old Swanky Suit here, they seem to be some kind of guide or protector of sorts for our protagonist.
You almost fried there. Good thing I was around. Traveller.
When it comes to getting around in Cronos, this new gameplay makes it clear that we are looking at your standard, over-the-shoulder, third-person control scheme. Throughout the trailer, the Traveller walks fairly slowly, with that speed decreasing even more when they bring their gun up to aim. While we only see a very short snippet of sprinting in this gameplay, I'm not really sure how long anyone could run for when wearing that sizable suit. That's not to say that controlling the Traveller is going to be an aggravatingly sluggish slog all the time though, because we do get shown a few frames of what seems to be a fairly nippy dodge mechanic here. The trailer even shows off a bit of Dead Space-inspired anti-gravity action too, which suggests that during certain sections of the game, the Traveller will also be able to fly. Or at least jump from one green pad to another. But where exactly will we be doing all of this moving around anyway? Well, we already know that the game is set in both 1980s era Poland and the ravaged wastelands of the future, but with a little bit of investigative journalism, I think we can find out a bit more about the locations featured in this trailer. Although by investigative journalism, I actually mean looking at the file names of a bunch of screenshots that I found on the assets page of Cronos' website. First up, there's this haunting image, which is titled Biomass. This is absolutely a location from the future section of the game, and yes, those fleshy walls are definitely made out of the remains of people. Next we have this screenshot, which is called Caterpillar Base. Judging by the cutesy face on its last segment, the caterpillar itself seems to be part of an old children's playground, so perhaps the base part of the file name refers to the base of the apartment block behind it, where I'm assuming the Traveller will have to go in order to find a rift back to the past. Then there's Tram, a simple internal shot of an old tram carriage, which shows that we'll be fighting our way through it during one of the future sections of the game. And then there's Pods, a curious screenshot here that shows off multiple hexagonal structures that we see the interior of at the start of the new gameplay trailer. Interestingly, the P, O and D in the Pods file name are all capitalized, so the name Pod is probably an acronym for something, but that something, I know not what. The final screenshot I have for you is simply called Factory, and it shows a fairly different looking area to the others as it has a more reddish hue to its colour scheme. The titular factory itself looks like it is in the process of being pulled apart by some unseen force, and in the centre of the image we can see that the approach to the factory is full of a gauntlet of monsters. And on the subject of monsters, another big focus of the gameplay trailer was of course Cronos' hideously mutated enemies, which are known as the Orphans. Inspired by The Thing and Dead Space, Cronos' Orphans are said to be created from only human flesh, and according to the Steam description, these abominations are born from the remnants of humanity. And as you can see from this shot here, this one does indeed seem to be kind of birth gooping its way out of a wall that's made out of limbs. Although this one here also seems to be collapsing back in on itself into a bunch of manky tendrils, but that's because these orphans are not your standard monsters. The tagline featured at the end of the trailer points to one of the game's core mechanics, which is known as merging, and this means that any dead monster won't stay dead for long. Unless set on fire, fallen foes will actually be absorbed by other enemies, allowing them to evolve into faster, stronger, and more resilient monsters that can even gain additional abilities post-merge. It's a fascinating, if not frankly frightening new mechanic that has shades of Dead Space's unique dismemberment strategy to it, and it means that we're going to have to go into combat in Cronos with a completely new way of thinking. And that, my friends, leads me to my final point. Combat. I've already mentioned the fact that the suit the Traveller wears seems to grow its own guns, but what kind of guns are they? Well, this new trailer prominently features a pistol-style weapon that fires ballistic rounds, but there's also a quick shot of it shooting out some kind of laser beam too. However, this then goes on to fix a broken path, so perhaps this is some kind of time-altering upgrade. And talking of upgrades, it looks like you can also get a charge shot for your pistol, along with a shotgun, a nail gun style weapon, a weird gun that fires kind of black hole things, and even what looks like an automatic rocket launcher. Oh, and in terms of setting orphans on fire so that they don't merge, I'm not sure what is happening here as the explosion on the floor cuts in mid-kaboom. Maybe there's a suit ability that lets you set fire to the floor or something, but It is nice to see that we can always rely on explosive red gas canisters in times of need. Thank you so much for watching this video about Cronos: The New Dawn. If you enjoyed it and it taught you a few new things about the game and maybe even made you feel way more hyped about it, please do give this video a like, subscribe to Eurogamer for almost daily videos about video games, and why not check out this other preview that is on screen and clickable right now. Goodbye.